Welcome to Money on Tap. Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do on this show. We look at all sides of the issues, and we bring a fully independent planning perspective to the table. Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. My name is Seth Krussman. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Seth.
That's Ben Brayshaw, in case you were wondering. We've got such a great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about Social Security taxes.
Social Security taxes?
Yeah. I mean, that's an oxymoron, right? It's like, here's your Social Security. And, oh, yeah, by the way, we're going to take that back.
Yeah, I'm excited about this show for the people who are really focused on, maximizing the income, focused on where their income's coming from, and honestly addressing how so much of our money gets funneled out on simple things like your Social Security income getting taxed. And people don't even realize all the different minutia that plays into, your tax return that ends up saying, hey, listen, we're adding this much Social Security back in and you're going to have to pay it back to the U.S. government. It's like, wait a minute, that's not how people see it. But when they get their first tax return back and they're hit by that, it's a shocking revelation.
Yeah. And believe it or not, there are ways that you can craft your income. I like to craft it.
That's a good word for you, Seth. That's a good word for you. You like crafting that?
I'm not super crafty. I'm not a crafty guy. But when it comes, that one there, I'm like, we can pull this thing off. I think we can get some Elmer's glue and some popsicle sticks and make it happen.
Well, right now, with the amount of people working from home, they probably all got a little school project with their kids they can grab that stuff with, I'm sure. So, but yeah. This is not going to be that easy. But there's going to be a lot of this is the one concern I have. We both talked about this with the show. A lot of people are going to potentially lose in the complexity of the information. So that is an issue. So bear with us. But I think we're going to walk through it in a way that you'll be able to tangibly use this, and at least go have a competent conversation with your CPA or your tax provider or whoever.
Mm-hmm. And if you've already started to look at your Pinterest feed or something else, shame on you. We shame you here at Money on Tap.
Well,
you know what?
Seth, the thing about this show is what I'm actually thinking about is like, hey, listen, tax season just ended. And a few of you are getting your tax returns back. We just went through COVID. You're trying to maximize your income. You're looking at what you want to do. Hey, you just ended up having forced year off. And hey, listen, you just took some of my Social Security back. How do I deal with that? And I think this is a really kind of good moving forward thing as people are changing their budget, realizing that income matters, and starting to evaluate how to get that in the most effective way.
Yeah. Hey, you know what else is good moving forward? You can call us at 855-226-8551, or you can reach us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Now, there's other ways out there. We're not going to get into all the other ways you can reach us, but or why. But if some of this information pertains to you, i.e., you're going to retire or would like to retire or are in retirement, then yeah, give us a call. We'd love to help you out. We'd love to work out some of the ways that we can craft together, and see what we can come up with reducing some of those Social Security taxabilities. Before we get into that, it is time for Money in the News. First up, folks, I always love it. This is a really easy thing, kind of a layup for us when we start looking at what's going on in the world today. Anytime I see our friend over at Berkshire Hathaway making moves, we got to talk about it. And what does Buffett do? He's out. Almost. Of Wells Fargo. Well, yeah.
Almost. This is crazy. Buffett has been a Wells Fargo all in since like 1989. 32 years almost of investing in Wells Fargo, believing in the company brand, and just says in its regulatory filing on Monday, said it owned 26.4 million shares in the fourth largest U.S. bank as of March 31st, down from around 32 billion in January of 2018. Now, this article comes from Reuters, Jonathan Stemple, and he does a good job at kind of bringing about the impact, the magnitude of Buffett just saying, hey, listen, Wells, we're done with you. I mean, we're done with you on almost every level. I mean, they've dumped almost everything that they own in there. Now, this comes based on a huge amount. I mean, there was a lawsuit that was settled for, for all sorts of, misgivings and poor representation of issues, scandals, mistreating customers. Seth, why don't you speak a little bit about that? I know you have some knowledge on that area.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. There's just a little bit of history between myself and good old Wells Fargo. And, personal stuff aside, I'm no longer a client. How about that? I went on a good day. That was the thing. Before I fired Wells Fargo, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. And when I'm really, really frustrated with them about the situation, I'm gonna do it on the good day. So but what were they doing with clients and customers? Myself, no longer one of them. It just was a ton of cross-selling, and it was upselling, and it was not based off of a customer's ultimate. Really, it wasn't based off of their needs, and it just overstepped a boundary that, well, the proof was in the pudding, and I mean, it was, back as far as 2008, a long time ago, but they just didn't do enough soon enough to make Mr. Buffett happy about their response and how they took care of their clients.
Yeah, I think the thing is I think ultimately the goals of the cross-selling and trying to make the most of the relationship and so forth, it just went too far is what it sounds like from the article. Yeah. And I think, I would say the article does not say that Buffett kind of, ran away from kind of a bad integrity issue, but it kind of alludes to that. I mean, it kind of alludes like he's just done with that long-standing relationship. He expected more from them, a higher quality. There's adjectives in this article that kind of allude to that. Now, whether or not that's really the case, I'm not sure. I am an owner. I own Wells Fargo stock. I mean, it was something I bought, with a number of different, financials that I bought during the fall of the crisis and COVID. I looked at all these bank stocks saying undervalued, and I purchased some. So, I mean, in full disclosure, I own them. So this stuff does concern me. But what I do think is really interesting, right? Buffett sells 26.4, million shares, and yet the stock closes up after all of that.
Somebody had to buy them.
Well, I know, but the thing is if you think about it, right? If stock's going up, right, Seth? I mean, more people are buying than people are selling, and Buffett was one of the biggest owners of it. So, kind of shocking to see that outcome in the stock, even with that amount of selling, which is really interesting. So, yeah,
it did not make a whole lot of sense, but you know what, Ben? You are, thank goodness, one of the beneficiaries. Happy for you.
If he had held on to it, I'd be a bigger beneficiary.
Folks, did you know that there was a little thing that happened last week, or a week or two ago now, over in New Jersey? And I mean, that's actually, it was kind of a big thing, right? The pipeline that got hijacked. And I mean, immediately I'm thinking of Bruce Willis, right? And Die Hardest. Would that be a Die Hard 4 or something like that? But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the digital hijacking of the Colonial Pipeline and the payoff of $4.4 million.
Well, first of all, how many people even knew Colonial Pipeline even existed before the hack, right? I mean, I don't think anyone had any idea. And I don't think anyone had idea that this private company provides roughly 45% of all the East Coast fuel.
That blew me away.
Right? That blows me away, too. You have a private company who has literally the lion's share control. I mean, if anything, all of our enemies have realized that We need to diversify. We have a monopoly issue going on here, and it needs to be addressed. There's a vulnerability here. I mean, we couldn't even get, they were struggling with planes getting in the air. There was a concern of like, hey, listen, if this lasts much longer, we can't fly people places without trucking the fuel all up and down the East Coast and from the West. This reminds me of kind of like the Civil War conversation of when, Grant literally started shutting down. Like his focus was to shut down the railroad system so they couldn't get supplies. And I think
say that again. Like okay, you're going way back there.
Oh yeah,
buddy.
I'm jumping back Civil War, buddy. Like this is standard military procedure. Let's shut them down. When Grant,
my COVID brain can't handle that. Hold on a second.
When they shut down, the whole goal was to shut down the railroad system to stop supplies. And that's how they beat the South. That's how we beat the South. And so when you think about that, that's what the ultimate.
I like it how you say you beat them.
I know.
Like I'm over here in Portland, and I'm not even a part of that conversation.
Seth, you don't even know where the Mason-Dixon line is. Come on, buddy. So anyways, when you really break down the vulnerability that this exposed for our country, it's phenomenal. But they paid Mr. Blount, Joseph Blount, CEO of the Colonial Pipeline, paid $4.4 million to...
Or his insurance did.
Yeah, something did. Somebody paid it.
Yeah, the cyber insurance did.
The cyber insurance did.
Yeah.
But even then... After, they had this whole crew of people negotiating with these, the dark, did they call it the dark side? What was it? It was the dark something or other.
Yes.
Something out of a bad movie here.
It's pretty bad.
And anyways, they ended up paying him out in, basically coin.
Digital currency.
Digital currency.
Should we call it what it is?
Probably not. But but it's interesting. We were laughing about this. It's funny that basically all these digital currencies have taken a huge pullback with all the stuff that's happened, and I'm glad these hackers got like probably 30 or 40% less when it's all said and done. Now
they got like 2 million over there. After they divvied it up among their cyber gang.
Yeah, it's dark side.
Europe.
It is dark side.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sitting here looking at it. I just loved. I was hoping you might come up with some other names. See what else you got in the reservoir.
Anyways, this is. I'm concerned. I'm concerned about a bunch of things. One, I'm concerned about all the different moving parts here. Why a private company has that much power. I'm concerned about a lot of companies having a lot of private power. I thought it was interesting too that Darkside claims all sorts of different things. I found another article on this cyber attack from the New York Times, which said it was talking about basically that I'm going to quote here: "We're also going to pursue a measure to disrupt their ability to operate." Mr. Biden said, in the line that seemed to hint that the United States Cyber Command, the military cyber warfare force, was being authorized to kick Darkside offline, much as it did to another ransomware group in the fall ahead of the presidential election. So I thought it was interesting that here's a whole nother Colonial article mentioning the presidential election. And meanwhile, we have like a bunch of people saying it's impossible to hack our election system, but they can hack the largest pipeline scenario we have out there. And I also think how stupid it is. And if you don't agree with me, tough luck, because how stupid is it when we have the vulnerability of one pipeline that's 5,500 miles long for us to kick off the Keystone pipeline and say we're not going to finish that when we have a vulnerability that's 45% in the Southeast, when we only have one pipeline basically, for Canada down.
Now I wonder if there's if a pipeline that covers 40 or provides 45% of the oil for the East Coast might have a little bit of sway in trying to persuade that Keystone pipeline from not being completed.
Well, they don't really have much to do with the Keystone. You're talking about the South versus the North.
I don't even care about the South or the North. I'm over here.
Of course, it's more valuable.
We don't care.
Well, it's more valuable for them, right? No, I get it. I get it.
Geographically challenged.
But the thing is that if we don't realize the need for more pipelines, that we have one company that's 45% of it, or we've allowed them to, acquire up to 45% of the East Coast need, that's a problem. And it definitely spouts out that we need more people, more companies, that competition to break down these monopolies. Because, they talked about this dark side organization.
I would say that is a monopoly right there.
Oh, absolutely. It says hours later, I'm quoting this New York Times article again, hours later, the group internet sites went dark. By early Friday, DarkSide and several other ransomware groups, including Babuk, which has hacked Washington, D.C.'s police department, again, another government organization we can't hack, announced they were getting out of the game. They retired. Okay, folks, one of the cyber organizations retired. For us to think that all of this stuff is nonsense, the elections couldn't get hacked, the pipeline got hacked, but it's just, we have one piece of crap news after another, and I'm sorry, I'm just going off on my little tangent here, but this is a real problem, and our country is not really addressing it well. And I thought it was really they didn't say at all, I can't find anywhere how they got hacked. If anyone knows, please let me know. I've researched this. I can't find, was it an email opened? I may have missed it in the article somewhere, but I've read a couple of articles on it. This is a big deal. We don't have a clue what they did, so how do we all protect ourselves against it? And what's the next pipeline? And how are they sharing information to deal with this?
Yeah, those are real concerns and good questions. And if you weren't quite done hearing the rest of what Ben had to say there, give him a call at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com, because he would love to have a deeper conversation with you about that. And I just happen to have a couple of friends that work in that field and would love to have actually, more of like an end. How do they help you not only stay secured? How do they help you be insured? Because I've had friends, you're right, it's just an open the email and it's like, boom, their computer's locked up and there's nothing they can do. If they haven't backed that thing up or already taken the precautions, that's it. So, Ben, I feel like you got more to say there, and but I'm going to go on to the next article here, okay? Before we get halfway into the show, just on Money in the News.
I have nothing else to say, Seth.
Whether or not you do, I'm going to talk more about taxes, because we're going to talk about taxes motivating people to do some different things. Possibly. What could that be? Well, some lower tax states won big in 2020 is what this article is saying, that Americans are really moving to escape the tax man. This is from Andrew Keshner, Market Watch. It was a really fun read to go through. And actually, I thought it was a really good job. I thought it was a fair and balanced article that really brought up a couple of think tanks out there that are trying to take a look at this information and say, well, is it the taxes that are the reason that people are moving to, the Southwest, or what are all the other motivating factors?
Well, I think it's interesting. They talk about how California and New York are two of the 7 states basically poised to lose seats in Congress because so many people have left their state. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. And then you got Florida and Texas. I just
call that an answer to prayer. I don't know what you call it.
Well, I'm not sure that I do, Seth, because I'm looking at it saying that you got the 2 most liberal states, and these people are moving for, potentially they're conservative people moving to conservative states, right, to keep it all balanced. But honestly, I know we have clients that we disagree politically, but we get along great. And, it doesn't really matter. But on the outside of this thing, I look at it and say, if you sat there and you elected somebody in a Democratic state that you supported, and then you're moving away from there because you don't like the current status of the state, don't go to a new state and vote in basically the stupidity of what these states have done. Right? Don't move to Florida and start voting a bunch of idiots back in. That's not what we're here to do. We need to get this country under control.
You just brought up some really funny things that I've seen on social media with people in Texas doing some different, having some different statements about that whole thing happening right there, as people from California moving into Texas and saying, no, you guys are doing it all wrong here. This is what you need to do.
I know. It's like you voted all these people in. You're going to come here and you're now going to vote the same way, but you left where you were at. It's really kind of it's humorous that people don't even understand that or perceive that. I think it's crazy. I look at New Hampshire and say, hey, I love New Hampshire, but we've done a really bad job about putting the people in place in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of where things are going in this state. I mean, I look at it and have a lot of concerns. So
well, I think the first place where you maybe stepped off out of balance there was just having this assumption that people were self-aware, and that by itself probably doesn't lend itself to the outcome. So I'll just say there was all sorts of numbers, there was all sorts of outcomes here, and I think that was at the end of the article. If I wanted to, kind of sum it up and say, well, what was the outcome? I mean, was there a cause relationship with where people are going in the U.S.? People are moving for all sorts of reasons, and I don't know how many of your friends or family have moved, and they called you up and said, the taxes, right? That's why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
Oh yeah,
no.
There is some of that though. There's lawsuits all over the place between Mass and New Hampshire for income tax issues because people are working from home and they're saying, well, where do you report? So I mean, there's a lot. I mean, people have moved because of taxes
too. I mean, like Portland, Vancouver, Washington's right across the river. Family, they're living in Vancouver because the tax situation is what it is, and it's right there. I mean, it's practically Portland. I'm not saying that it's not a motivation to go state to state, but we're talking about like California moving to where? Texas?
Well, I'd be happy with them just moving to Portland or Vancouver.
They do. Oh yeah, we just gained a seat, buddy, and we're at a 9.9% tax rate. So that goes against the whole code, right?
Well, not when you're at 12% in California. So I mean, they're still going down. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you make a great point. I mean, there is clearly some. The numbers say there is some move for taxes. But but if you're stuck at home, you're like, well, you know what? I'm just going to go somewhere where I don't have to be stuck in my house.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that does it for Money in the News for us. But hey, listen, if it wasn't for taxes and it wasn't for trying to save people tax dollars, like we're going to get into here in a minute with all right, Social Security and trying to save you the tax dollars on those numbers, I mean, we wouldn't have much of a show, Seth. I got to be honest with you. Well, I mean, separate your blooming personality.
That's what I'm here for. I appreciate you for it. Thanks a lot, Ben. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We are going to be talking about all those lovely tax dollars coming out of your Social Security or not, depending on how your income is coming through. So can't wait to get into that with you, Ben. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We have a lot of fun doing this show, Money on Tap, and Ben and I have been financial planners for years and years, and our goal here with you is to bring you into the room, have the conversations that we have. We think these are critical conversations for you, but we understand this is a limited space, and what we'd love to do is to open the doors to you with us at Brayshaw Financial Group, so you could experience what it means to have three-dimensional planning in your life. Let's take a look at all sides of your situation, your scenario, and see how we can put together the best plan possible, taking into account your risk. How much can you have in the market? How much do we need to have set aside and doing different things for your life? That's what we do as planners, how we engage with you, and we welcome you to do that with us. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Now, if you have $250,000 that are investable assets today, our planning is free to you. We want you to have the playbook to have a successful experience in retirement. Give us a call, 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Ben and I welcome you to Brayshaw Financial for complete wealth management.
Now back to Money on Tap with Ben and Seth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And folks, if you have made it through Ben and myself and all of our money in the news that we just brought to you,
if you're still a listener,
you stuck around for the meat of the show. Okay. And we know that we talk about taxes, we talk about financial planning, and it is what it is. You know, what I mean by that is, if you have income, you probably have taxes, you probably live somewhere, and we got to try to understand this stuff. And one of the things that most people just don't even really understand around how income and retirement income and taxes work is that they probably are paying taxes on their Social Security. Or if you do understand that, you may not realize that there's some ways to put your income together differently to affect the taxes that you're getting taken out of from those Social Security benefits. And that's what the show is about. And there are going to be numbers involved. there's going to be some of part of it that might just be a little drier than other, but it is the cake that we bake. You know, at the end of it, we want to put this thing together in a way for you that really allows you to have control over the product, over the outcome of your income, and that income really can mean a big difference from a lot of decisions that you make all the time.
You know, Seth, one of the things about preparing income is just how much you get to keep. I mean, that's what people really are. That's the conversation a lot of people don't really understand how to communicate to financial people or CPAs is like, I just want to keep more. This is how much you need to keep. And I tell you, people come in the office and they say, this is how much income I need. And I'm like, is that how much you need to keep? Or is that how much you need to make? Because you don't know how they're calculating it. Everyone's looking at it differently. And you'd think most of them are like, well, I need, $50,000 to live off of. Well, that's one way of communicating it, but you still don't know if they're calculating their taxes in that. And so we have to have that clear conversation. And invariably, every one of the people who are really entering retirement right now are absolutely considering that Social Security is a primary provider for their retirement. I would say that people in our, 25-year-old age bracket don't consider Social Security as even a possibility, right? So us 20-year-olds, we're out there, we're saying, hey, listen, Social Security is not going to be there for us. And folks, I'm just kidding, we're not in our 20s. But that's really, there's a big disparity between ages of who thinks Social Security is going to play that primary role or be an instrumental part in their retirement and who doesn't think that. And everybody in between has some variable of that. I mean, I honestly got to tell you, I'm not sure that Social Security is going to play much, if any, role in my retirement. I just don't think so. I'm not preparing for that. I mean, the clients I work with in our age bracket, I communicate that. I'm not sure. I know it's by the claims paying ability of the U.S. government and yada, yada, yada. But in my last Social Security statement that they mailed to me, which was forever ago, said in 2034 they were going to run out of money in Social Security. So to me, that tells me they're going to run out before I retired. So those are the kinds of things that I'm concerned about. And I look at the $100 and some odd trillion of, basically unrealized, expenses we have coming as something that we're not really sure that our government's going to be able to pay. And that makes a big deal. So in the early years, it's important to see how you can maximize your income. And that really brings in a lot of different issues when it comes to Social Security, because there are people out there, and Seth, you've seen it a zillion times, where they say, hey, listen, why? I think it's line, I don't know if it's 17 or 18 or 19 on your 1040, but it says, hey, this is your Social Security. It's kind of in the middle of the page. And then to the right, if it has a number written in there, it's a percentage of that Social Security, or there's nothing there. And if they're bringing that number all the way over to the right, that means that's getting added back into your income to be taxable. And people say, hey, wait, I wasn't planning on, I'm in full retirement age. I thought I could make anything I want, and and like all this stuff. And it's just not the case. It's just not the case.
I mean, I feel like my hands are tied here, right? When we just talk about this, because it's like, what am I going to do? I mean, as far as, how to adjust my gross income, or, gosh, I mean, because that's not a goal I have, to lower my income. What are some of the other things that I can do to try to lower my taxes, or try to move this number one direction or another? Well, some of the factors that people don't realize early on is that, they have the ability to kind of convert where their money is. You can move money from one place to another, and depending on where you're at, and this is much more preferable for a lot of people to be doing this planning work ahead of time, to be able to maybe pay taxes where they're at right now, and maybe move some money into another direction where it won't be seen as a taxable or a line item affecting that Social Security tax. And what do I mean by that? Well, Seth, I'm talking to myself right here, folks. What I mean by that is I'm talking about taking, for instance, ordinary income, or what would be considered ordinary income in your retirement, which would be your IRA money. Okay. Take that IRA money that you're collecting right now, or that 401k money that you're collecting right now, and try to put it into a tax advantaged retirement account like a Roth IRA. And there's other places to put this as well. It's just one of them that, shows up for us, or people, for the most part, we all kind of get that. And some 401ks have that option within the 401k to move those monies over to the Roth. So what is that going to do? Well, what that's going to do is, for one, it's going to create some taxability right now in your current, in this current year, and paying the taxes right now will then create, basically that money will go over into the Roth, where you won't have to account for that as income towards your Social Security.
Seth, you make a great point about the Roth, because the Roth comes to you as tax-free income. And I think that's really good. But people are like, well, why is that important? When do I become vulnerable? When is my income issue a problem when it comes to Social Security? And it's probably going to shock a lot of people here that are listening, because, basically your Social Security starts getting added back in when your gross income, including Social Security, is at least $25,000. Now, for a lot of people, they're easily crossing that number with Social Security. And then we have this whole math. So it's $25,000 for couples filing jointly with a 50% calculation of adding Social Security over. And for married filing jointly, it's like $32,000. But they add 85% of your Social Security benefits in to be taxable when your individual income is $34,000 and your gross joint income is over $44,000. So let me back up. There's a lot of numbers. So basically, you're telling me, Ben, that somewhere between $2,000 and $1,500 a month of income for me makes my Social Security benefits taxable. And I'm saying, yeah, roughly, yes, you need to start having a conversation with your tax person. That's a 50% level. Now, if you're making somewhere between $3,000 and almost $4,000 a month in income, about 85% of your Social Security benefits are going to be added back in to be taxable. That's a big deal. Now, there's a lot of things that people don't understand about this, because it's not just like, hey, I work this side job, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. They're adding all sorts of income in. They're even adding in, and I want everyone to listen very carefully, because this is one of the things that is just kind of like, I feel like it's a kick in the teeth. This is that one item, that one nugget that everyone's like, really? And this is where they add in those muni bonds, those things that people say, hey, buy these municipal bonds, get some tax-free income, and, whether it's state or federal, whatever, irrelevant of it. It's like, hey,
I saw an advertisement for that just the other day.
Yeah, I mean, people are always advertising these tax-free bonds. Well, they are tax-free, but the income from those municipal bonds is added back in to do the calculation of whether or not they bring your Social Security in to be taxed. And this is a big, big deal because a lot of people say, oh, I've met financial advisor after financial advisor who has shoved people into large tax-free bond options to basically give the client tax-free income. And then all of a sudden their Social Security starts getting added back in and you're like, why aren't people educating on this? And it's because they just don't know it. And so if you, have a lot of tax-free bonds and that's part of your primary goal, go check that. I can't remember if it's line 17, 18, 19. I'll have to check that out. But if you have a question, give us a call. You can bring your tax return in. I can tell you in 2 minutes, first page, whether or not you're paying taxes on Social Security. And a sit-down meeting in probably an hour can figure out whether or not, we can try to get that number down or reduce your taxes or restructure because there's lots of opportunities. And Seth, you bring up a Roth, and I think that's where planning comes into place. We talk to people all the time and, they don't want to pay an advisor to do their work. And they don't want, they've been educated that fees and expenses and commissions and all this stuff, they're just bad. They're all bad. Well, if you're not getting anything for it, I would say you're overpaying. I would say it's not bad. And yeah, am I biased? Is that how we get compensated? Absolutely. That's who we are. But if you are paying an advisor to provide you income as much as they possibly can, and they don't know these simple moves to help you, that's how we pay for our services. We bring value to the table. And so that's one of the things where I think a lot of people here, listen, if you own muni bonds, you need to really be aware of this because that is going to impact your Social Security and whether it's taxed.
Well said. And with that, I will tell you, you can call us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. You're listening to Money on Tap, and we're talking about how Social Security is getting taxed in retirement and what are some of the options here, right? That's it. We want to know. Some of these things we may or may not choose to do, but at least we understand we have some options here. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back before you know it.
For a number of our listeners, they have a lot of questions, and you might be one of them. Today, we're just offering what we call Zoominars, webinars over Zoom meeting rooms where we have top experts, Social Security, estate planning, and financial planning experts for you to speak with, do a private consultation that way today. We're also having webinar-based Zoominars where we're going to have multiple groups where you can be part of that and enjoy that as well. Give us a call at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com to schedule your Zoominar.
Now back to Money on Tap with Ben and Seth.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And we are talking today about your income through Social Security and what percentage of that income may be taxed and how does that work, and what are some different things that we can do in planning ahead of time for those distributions and income to lower the taxability of our Social Security. Maybe that's a part of it. Or maybe we've got some things going on right now that we're just taking income. And, the question is, what are some different things that we can do to affect that? A lot of people in retirement use all sorts of things. There's the There's there's a typical IRA. We talked about Roth IRA and how that's not taxable income, and that doesn't count towards the taxability of your Social Security income. And another place that people love to get income and use as a tool for income is an annuity. And annuity doesn't always work the same way in its income, right? So what do I mean by that? Okay, so let's just say, for instance, you have put $100,000 in an annuity, and you grow that to $200,000, and you're like, hey, I want some income from that. So you take that $10,000 out of that annuity for some income. Now, we haven't annuitized this. We haven't turned it into, the 10-year or lifelong or whatever the option is that you want to choose. We haven't annuitized this thing yet. We're just taking some of this out. Well, that $10,000 is all going to get counted as ordinary income and all going to be added back into the equation towards the taxability of your Social Security.
I think that's really, Seth, that's great. And I think the thing is really to emphasize is it's taxable as income. Even though it's money you gained in the annuity's gain is taxed as ordinary income, which is going to impact. I mean, a lot of people just say, oh, just send me, 10 grand, right? I mean, and it's all of a sudden it's like, it hits their bottom line and it's like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And at the end of the day, it can affect that Social Security and how that's getting taxed. And I was trying to think of where was I going with this? Oh, yes, that's right. We were going with the annuitization option of the annuity, which, is maybe one of those things. If you've got a great deal going and you've got some growth going on and it's, it's working for you in the background, maybe you're just like trying to really hold off on the annuitization of that. Well, if you were to annuitize that, how would that change this? Okay. First of all, that's going to break down that distribution for you and the taxability of that distribution, because it's going to spread out those gains over the life of the distribution of that annuity for you. And that's one of the ways that you can, in creating income and retirement that we take a look at is what do we have available that we can really kind of try to create slices of that principal and then break down that growth or that part that would be considered or that ordinary income or all of it being income. And by that, we can take that $10,000 distribution and we can really create a much smaller number that gets added back towards.
Seth, you had said gain, and it is true. It does spread the gain out, but it also spreads the principal out. I think that's what you meant to say. Well. Yeah. So, that's really the exclusion ratio point there is huge. And I think the thing is what a lot of people don't understand is sometimes it's just how you manipulate your investments that really make them powerful. Like that piece alone in that illustration, like if 50% of that was gain and 50% of that was principal, in the illustration number one that you just gave, $10,000 would be added to your taxable income, which, we're talking about your Social Security starts getting taxed at $24,000 of income or $25,000 of income, on a single person. So if you're taking $10,000 out of annuity and you're getting, a decent Social Security, you're already irrelevant of your IRAs and everything else or a pension or whatever, you've already you're way over. And so if you do something like this and all of a sudden you still get that same $10,000 distribution and $5,000 of its principal and $5,000 of its gain. Well, now you've just reduced the amount of reportable income. The money you're writing down on things no longer $10,000. You're writing down $5,000 on your tax form. That's going to change everything for some people. And so these little tricks. Now, full disclosure, you annuitize an annuity, you're probably going into like a very, very low return. But if your tax savings is huge, it could offset whatever return sacrifice you're doing, because you have to do those calculations to really figure out where you're really benefiting the most from. And that's just, honestly, Seth, how many people just aren't doing this work? And that's a big, big question. And CPAs always say, oh, wow, that's really, I'm glad you noticed what an exclusion ratio is. Oh, that's good you did that. They never tell us to do it. They never instruct their client to do it. The client never asks them at tax time, hey, listen, how do I save money? They're like, well, you just got to do things differently. That's really their response, So those are big issues. I'm glad you brought up the annuity contract. The other thing about an annuity that's coming to mind as you're saying that, Seth, and I didn't really plan on talking about this, but people generate income from all sorts of different investments. Now, sometimes you might be able to find an annuity that can replace or get you like-kind investment options. And, maybe because annuities, they tax defer just like an IRA would with after-tax money. So you might be able to take a brokerage account and move it to a different type of annuity. Maybe you give up some types of investments, but you get others or similar ones. But you tax defer some of that stuff. And maybe that brings your reportable income down a little bit too. I mean, it's all a process, right?
Yeah, so that brings up a good question. What is your process? What is your process? How are you working out your income? Have you gone the route of, well, I've got Social Security and it's coming in the door, and I've got this IRA over here and that much money over there I need from that, or I've got this real estate over here and I've got this, what is your process that you are working out these numbers and taking a look at your options? We're here to help. You can give us a call, 855-226-8551. info@yourmoneyontap.com is how you can get a hold of us. And we can take a look at these things with you and start to develop a playbook. We call it a financial plan, all right? And in that, we take a look at where are these pieces coming through? How are they getting taxed? What are the outcomes? And what are the different options that you have? At the end of the day, you may turn around and say, hey, that's great. Wonderful. Thank you. My simple playbook, my simple process here that I have is working just great. That's great. Most of the time, what we find out is that there are so many different ways that we can start to enhance not only possibly your current income, but also how is that getting taxed? What are you getting to keep? And at the end of the day, Ben talks about that. What do you get to keep? And that's the bottom line that we're going to talk about. All right. So pen handy, paper handy, 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. That's how you can get a hold of us and start the process of taking a look at these numbers. What do they actually mean to you? How do they articulate? And what are some of the outcomes that we can start to look forward to? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Money on Tap. Folks, it is so much fun for us to bring you Money on Tap. My name's Seth Krussman, and I am one of the hosts here at Money on Tap. I'm also a financial planner. That's what we do. That's what Ben and I do. And the fun part is we get to have this radio show. We talk about important things that we think you need to listen to and be aware of to help raise the bar as far as your financial literacy. It's a big part of what we're trying to do here. The other thing that we're doing here as well, as financial planners, we are welcoming you to come and call us and to join us at Brayshaw Financial Group. Experience what complete wealth management looks like. Let's take a look at all sides of the issue, get a three-dimensional perspective, and put a plan around your next step. It's so critical. And so many people just leave this part out and then they find out later, oh, if I only would have known. Hey, don't let that be your story. Give us a call at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. If you have $250,000 of investable assets today, our plan is free to you. We think it's important for you to know the facts and have a playbook so you can have a successful retirement. Give us a call at 855-226-8551. Thanks for listening.
Now back to Money on Tap with Ben and Seth.
Welcome back. You are listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And we have been talking about, taxes Those lovely little things.
Love taxes. Love taxes.
How does it work out in your Social Security, and how much tax is getting assessed from your Social Security or not? And what are some of the different ways that we can really affect, and go into just having, if we're just to pull a lever A, B, C over here, what can we do to really try to affect how much is getting taxed on this Social Security piece? I mentioned, doing some early planning ahead of time and getting some of those Roth conversions in, or those traditional IRA dollars. Pay the taxes that you need to as you convert those into a Roth, but those future distributions from your Roth don't get counted towards your Social Security taxes, right?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, Seth, as you're speaking about that, I think the one thing that's really like a kick in the pants here is that 13 states actually impose taxes on Social Security too. There's a lot of things going on around Social Security that people don't know, and I think. And this might be the conspiracy theory side of me and so forth, but knowing that we don't have the money to pay Social Security for the next 100 years, without hundreds of trillions of dollars of debt, I'm presuming that this strategy work is going to become more and more imperative for you. I can either see them lowering these numbers, or if your income's a certain level, it's zero. They're going to cut these numbers. They're going to impact Social Security more and more to reduce that, those future liabilities. It's just going to happen. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how. Are states going to do this after this pandemic? I'm sure more states are going to sign up for this stuff. That's where we become vital. You can run around trying to look for somebody who's going to be cheap and this, that, and the other thing. But, sometimes when you just buy cheap, you get cheap. And this kind of planning, when you're maximizing the dollars, it does take time. It does take knowledge. It does take effort. And you're not going to get that from an 800 number. Well, we have an 800 number, but you know my point. So, that's an issue. That's the issue that you have to really deal with. This is serious stuff. And honestly, when you come into our office, we're going to ask you to bring your tax return. We're going to ask you for a copy of that. At some point in time,
it's kind of one of those. It's always kind of an interesting conversation too, because some people are like, "Well, why would you want to know that?"
What does that have to do with my investing? Exactly, it's ridiculous. If someone's not asking you for your tax form, you shouldn't be doing business with them.
Right.
That's straight up. If you are sitting down with a financial person right now today and they have not looked at your tax return, you need to run, and you need to run quickly, because they have no understanding of how this is going to truly impact you. And they clearly don't have enough knowledge, because you can't, if I have met people where if I hadn't looked at their tax return, I didn't know they had a side business, even though they were, I just work at such and such a job. There's so much information that is detailed. If someone understands your financial position, if they look at your tax return, they can tell you more about it than any financial investment statement out there in the world. The investment is the last decision. The taxes are what help define those decisions. And until people embrace that, are we not going to really have a good investment strategy for yourself? And that is the bottom line.
Yeah. I love it. I think we're getting close to a wrap here. And the question is, first of all, we get this right out of the gate. We probably just haven't even said it enough, is, does your Social Security income count as income? And the answer is yes. In most cases, it does. But you can really minimize the amount you owe by making some of these choices right up front. And there's some stuff that we've done, the work on the backside of this, where we've paid the taxes in year A, to really minimize the outcome over several years down the road, where the accumulation of what it is that we're talking about is the benefit here. In really lowering that taxability. Yeah. But how do you just don't know unless you really bring the paperwork, bring it in, bring the taxes in, sit down, take a look, and try to understand what are your options. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, folks. We're talking about some stuff that probably is just like at this point in time, you're just like, geez, man, I don't even care. I'm done here. Take it, whatever. But at the end of the day, we really want to build options here for you, because that's important. And then you having some understanding of how this is just going to work and making those decisions for yourself.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. You want to go back and talk about some of that money in the news? Because I really feel like I'm just kind of
I'm still hyped. I'm still hyped on that. Yeah. If you couldn't hear it in my voice today. Anyways.
It's been a lot of fun. And I can't wait until the next time. You've been listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us at Facebook. We're at /3D Investing. We're also on Twitter at BFG_LLC. And as always, you can also find us at yourmoneyontap.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for liking our podcast. You guys, make it a great week. We can't wait to talk to you.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.